Hi, everybody. Welcome to Kentucky Derby Prep Recap. I'm Dan Illman along with Mike Beer. And in this edition, we're going to take a look back at the Bluegrass at Keeneland, a 100-point race to the winner. We might have 5 horses coming out of this race into the starting gate at Churchill Downs on the first Saturday in May in the Kentucky Derby. Let's break from the gate. The 1 and the 3 are the ones we're going to be looking at. Tapit Trice is the number 1, and it's not the best break in the world. For him, it's great.
Little bit better from the gate. This time you see Luis Saez down on the rail. He's riding him to make sure he gets position going forward to the first turn. Dan, this is a really smart move, and it's to Tapit Trice's credit that he's able to get position. And now Saez is going to get him off the rail, Dan. Once he gets out into the clear up the backstretch, this horse actually settles into a really nice rhythm. He got a really good trip in this race.
And we talked about it in the stakes preview. He seems a lot more comfortable when he's out in the clear and not taking dirt. And as you see, he's now relaxing into a fine beat. Meanwhile, up front, Clear the Air was sort of quarter horsed out of there, ran the opening quarter in 23-1. He is backing down the fractions right now, and Verifying is sitting in a comfortable position up close.
Yeah. Clear the Air had a couple of tough trips in his prior 2 starts. So I think they wanted to avoid that. And here they put him on the lead. It does not work out. He's going to finish last in here. Verifying sits a really nice trip in this race all the way around the track that he's going to run really, really well here. He's dead game when the winner comes to challenge him here as they exit this second turn. And they're going to put on quite a show here through the stretch.
Tyler Gaffalione kicks on the gas right now, and they're going to put Clear the Air away. And Tapit Trice, who's ridden hard on the outside under Luis Saez, comes to confront. And from here, it's going to be these two mostly to the wire. For a brief instant, it looks like Tapit Trice is going to make the lead and go on to win, as a favorite should. But Verifying is very game, as Mike mentioned. They battle all the way down to the wire, and this is a fast race. Tapit Trice got that 99 buyer, that fast race we've been looking for.
Yeah, and he's just a little bit more of a stayer, I guess, Dan. He really stays strongly at the end of his races. He's going to wind up getting the edge there. It's to Verifying's credit that he just really never relented through the stretch of this race. He winds up settling for second, but it's another good performance from him. You saw a little bit further back there in the field was a really improved effort from Blazing Sevens. I mean, he made a run around that turn. He was in contention, just couldn't kick on with these top 2 finishers late.
We'll talk about Tapit Trice in a bit. Let's talk about the other horses that rounded out the super high 5. Raise Cane was 5th in this race at 7-1. The winner of the Gotham. He is now 9th on the points list heading into the Kentucky Derby. He doesn't have a lot of speed, and he did have a perfect trip in the Gotham. He was running on a little bit at the end here, however.
He was. I didn't think this was a poor performance at all. I mean, he had an outside post in this race. So Joel Rosario just took him back from the start. He did not want to, it appeared that he didn't want to lose ground on that first turn. So he just took this horse back, rated him over to get towards the inside and sat off the pace for a long way. He had to come wide to the stretch. He was racing on really gamely through the stretch of this race. I mean, he was never a real threat, but he almost got 3rd and 4th in this race. I thought he ran fine in here.
Like Raise Cane, the 4th place finisher, Sun Thunder is in the Derby, if that's what the connections opt to do. He's 14th on the points list. Like Raise Cane, he is sort of a one-run closer that's dependent on pace, dependent on trip. And in the Derby, where there are going to be 19 other horses, many of them in front of Sun Thunder, it's up to his rider to figure something out.
Yeah, we'll see if he can work out a trip in Kentucky if they go there. He had a little bit of traffic, I thought, in this race, Dan, around the final turn. But he was clear on the stretch. He had a real shot at it, I thought, and he just was sort of grinding on to the end there. Couldn't kick on, obviously, with the 1-2 finishers, but he did pretty well to nearly get 3rd in this race. I mean, obviously, he would probably need to catch a break or 2 in the Kentucky Derby, but he's not a bad horse at all.
The 3rd place finisher, Blazing Sevens, the winner of the Grade 1 Champagne last year, 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, I believe. He was not good at all in his seasonal debut down at Gulfstream Park. He needed an improved performance. He gave an improved performance. Is it enough for you to think that he's a sleeper on Kentucky Derby Day? He's currently 17th on the points list for Chad Brown.
I mean, I don't see why he couldn't be. I mean, listen, we talked about it a little bit in the stakes preview. I can't say that I was, a huge fan of his as a 2-year-old. Obviously, his return from the layoff was very discouraging, but I thought in a lot of ways this was maybe a perfect prep race and a perfect bounce back race from him. He ran fine in here. I love the trip Irad gave him. He just basically followed Tappet Trice around the track. He took a wide run at the leaders off the top of the stretch there. You could see him. He was still in contention there, Dan. He just couldn't really kick on with them. But all in all, this was a good performance.
Verifying was betting this race 2-1 into the teeth of Tappet Trice, who came in with a big reputation. Verifying, of course, has that big pedigree, being a Justify colt and a half brother to Midnight Bizu. He has always shown some ability. This was his breakout performance. Do you give him any extra points that he was really the only part of the pace still hanging around at the end? Or do you say the other pace horses were long shots? They probably weren't going to be around anyway.
Yeah, I don't know that I wanted to necessarily give him extra credit because I thought he got a great trip in this race. I also happen to think that he ran really, really well. To me, all it really does is solidifies the impression that this horse has really taken a step forward as a 3-year-old. He won his return from the layoff, just an allowance race, but really impressive in fast time. I thought he had a real trip over a sloppy track in the Rebel, and he took another step forward in here. This was a good performance.
He is 13th on the Kentucky Derby qualifying points list. Let's take a closer look at the winner. That's Tappet Trice, who's 4 for 5 in his career. He's now won 4 in a row. He won the Tampa Bay Derby. He won the Bluegrass. Does he have his quirks? He's a son of Tappet. They all have their quirks. The gate is a quirk for Tappet Trice. He was a little bit better this time. He seems to be hard-ridden. It takes him a while to get that big engine going. But once he does, and his stamina takes over, that should really help going 1.25 miles.
It's a real benefit to him. He just seems like a true stayer. And that's just going to help him going forward into these Triple Crown races. Danny, the talent, of course, is obviously there as well. And that's the most important thing. He's just one of those horses. Yeah, it's a little bit dicey, I guess, when you start talking about a 20-horse field in the Kentucky Derby, because this is a horse who has to be ridden for position in his races. And it just feels like if he is not in a good spot throughout the running of a race like that, it could be a real problem for him. But man, if he winds up getting himself out into the clear with time, you just know he's going to stay all day long and he'll be finishing strong.
He ticks many boxes. A $1.3 million yearling going out for the great Todd Pletcher, coming into the Kentucky Derby off a 99 Beyer speed figure effort in the Bluegrass, and apparently wants to run all day. Let's take a look at the prices. For the Grade 1 Bluegrass at the 1 1/8 distance, Tappet Trice as the favorite, Nips Verifying the second choice, and an improved performance for Blazing Sevens. We might see the top 5 at Churchill Downs for the Derby.